All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for coming. Again, this is the Tommies in 20, and we're going to talk today to you about maximizing your college visit. And to start with, at St. Thomas for all of our events, we just wanted to read our St. Thomas land acknowledgement. And it reads, the University of St. Thomas occupies the ancestral and current homelands of the Dakota people, Minnesota Makoche. We also recognize the Ojibwe and Ho-Chunk, whose lands were colonized by the United States and are currently occupied by the state of Minnesota. We condemn the tools of settler colonialism, including genocide and forced assimilation, undertaken in the name of white supremacy, that created structures of injustice and inequality that continue to oppress and marginalize indigenous and underrepresented peoples. We work towards the process of decolonizing minds and educating students to be morally responsible leaders. We commit to the work of truth-telling and relationship building as we seek new pathways forward as relatives in the University of St. Thomas community, Indigenous communities, and those who traverse multiple communities. So to start with, my name is Thomas. I'm an admissions counselor here at St. Thomas. I graduated from St. Thomas about 4 years ago. So in 2017 from St. Thomas, I was a marketing major and I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin originally. So this purple kind of hurts having to wear that every day, but uh, it's all right. It doesn't say Vikings or anything anywhere. So we're all good. And with me, I also have Priscilla as well.
My name is Priscilla. I'm actually a recent graduate of St. Thomas. I just graduated this past May of 2021, and I majored in finance with a minor in econ, and I'm from Bloomington, Minnesota.
Awesome. Well, today, really what we have, again, this is about a 20-minute presentation where Priscilla and I are going to talk about some tricks and tips to really maximize your college visit. As I know a lot of you are, going to be juniors and seniors, and you're really starting to think about how to go about actually scheduling and setting up the visit. So we're going to talk about how to prepare for your visit, how to schedule your visit, stuff to ask during your visit and after, as well as some visit options that we have right here at St. Thomas. And to start, now when I think about really starting to look at a college visit, I know it can be first of all really stressful. As a junior and a senior, when you first start to look at colleges, it can be one of the biggest decisions that you've made at this point in your life. Not only figuring out where to look, but making that decision on where you want to go for the next 2 or 4 years. Um, and I think some students get so caught up in will college in the question of will colleges admit me, but it's also a two-way street. You want to go and you want to find a school that's the right fit for you. Um, and really, I think the first step towards that is identifying what's important to you. What are you looking for in your college journey? And we compiled a list: location, size, majors, extracurriculars that we think are really important. I think location is one of the biggest pieces, because that is really the location of the school that you're going to is going to be where you spend those next 2 or 4 years. Um, are you going to be in a big city? Are you going to be in a rural town in the middle of nowhere? Are you going to be near traffic? Are you used to city life? Are you used to rural life? Like that's all really important. Size, I think, is also a really, really important indicator of what your time is going to be like at your school. And it does vary for each student, but I think size can really be broken down into three different distinctions. A lot of times you'll have smaller schools, usually a couple hundred to a couple thousand students. That for a lot of college students is similar to what you had in high school, where you know every single student on campus, class sizes are really small. A lot of times, smaller schools are going to be a little bit more personalized, where professors all know your name, they'll know where you're from, they'll know who you are. Again, it's really similar to what you experienced in high school, just continued at the college level. And then at the larger end, you have schools, usually larger public institutions, where they're really, really big. You don't know everyone. You're meeting new people all the time. Usually there's that larger student body experience. You'll have smaller pockets of friends that you know. And then in between, you usually have more medium-sized schools that take things from larger schools and take things from smaller schools, but don't fit into one specific thing. Majors, extracurriculars, those are all things I think that you should really take into account before thinking about what schools fit all of those boxes that you want to go visit.
And if you're looking at that list, and you don't know what you want of any of those four, don't worry. When I started my college search and college visit process my junior year of high school, I really only knew that I was interested in majoring in business and that I wanted to be involved in campus or on campus. So I had no idea if I wanted to be close to home, if I wanted to be out of state. I had no idea what size college I wanted to go to. So I made a list of colleges that I wanted to visit that had a range. So I visited schools on the West Coast, both large public universities and smaller private universities, so that I would get, a difference in size. I toured a bunch of schools in the Midwest, both public, large universities and smaller private schools. And I also varied the location as far as urban and rural. So I made that list. I went and visited those colleges. And then from there, I was able to narrow down what's important to me.
When actually going to schedule your visit, there's a lot of different visit options that are out there that are available for students. Um, and really what those visit options start to look like, if you want to just head over to the next slide, what those visit options look like. And this varies a little bit for every school, but for the most part, these are a lot of your basic visit options. Campus tour is pretty much the most explanatory and most simple one. You go to a college, and most of the time, it's going to be a current student that walks you around and shows you the big, most important main buildings, talks a lot about their current student experience. You really get to hear what being a student is like on campus and hearing about the fun student activities that go on. I think doing a campus tour during the school year is awesome because current students are still around, they're walking around to classes. It sort of gives you a sneak preview of, okay, this is what life will look like for me when I'm a student. This is where I will walk to class. This is where I'll go to my dorm room. This is where I'll eat on campus. Information sessions are also, I think, a really, really great first look. A lot of schools offer information sessions, and really what that is usually it's a 30 or 45-minute presentation by someone in admissions. Maybe someone in financial aid will hop in as well, but it's really designed to be a general brief overview of the school. So it usually like the fun facts about a school, the admissions process, the financial aid process, walking you through a general overview of the school. And a lot of times it's going to be followed by a campus tour. Meeting with an admissions counselor, meeting with someone like myself, one-on-one, I always recommend meeting with an admissions counselor. I think that's a really, really great way to get that one-on-one, more personalized information. The campus tour is great, the information session is great, but a lot of times you're going to be in larger groups, and sometimes it can be harder to ask those personal one-on-one specific questions that you might have. I think an admissions counselor and a professor, they're both great when you're trying to narrow down your list. Maybe you applied to 10 different schools and you got into all 10, and now you have 2 or 3 schools that you're trying to decide, and you're really trying to narrow it down to that one school. Meeting with a counselor and meeting with a professor is a great way to get the information from the source. You can learn more about majors a lot more specifically, and it can get you excited about a specific program at a school. Same with meeting with a club or coach, and that does vary a little bit depending on the institution that you're looking at. Division 3 schools are going to be a little bit more accessible to meeting with a coach, whereas Division 2 and Division 1 is going to be more specific to specific athletes that coaches are actively recruiting. And then lastly, lunch on campus. A lot of schools will offer free passes to eat at the cafeteria. And I mean, if you're going to go to a school for 4 years, you better hope the food is halfway decent. And eating lunch on campus is an easy way to, one, get a free meal, but also just test out to see if the food is adequate enough to feed you for the next 4 years.
I totally agree about eating lunch on these campuses that you visit. During all of my initial college visits, I made sure to go on a campus tour and attend an information session, especially if I didn't know too much about the school. The information session was a really great first look at that university and what they have to offer. And then that campus tour was also super helpful. Like Thomas said, it's usually a current student leading you, and you just have the opportunity to ask that current student what it's like to go to this university. And then additionally, you get to see the campus that you may be living on or around for 2 to 4 years. Sometimes I would meet with an admissions counselor if I knew I had specific questions, but I would most definitely always eat lunch on campus if it was offered. I did most of my college visits with my mom, and she was telling me, if you're going to go to this school for 2 or 4 years, you need to make sure that you like the food that's served on campus.
Now, during your visit, I think it's always a good practice to come up with questions that you want to ask beforehand. Maybe sit down as a family, talk to your friends, talk to older siblings that maybe have gone through college. And I think just come up with a list of questions that you want to ask. And maybe you don't know what to ask at all. And maybe your question is as simple as, can you please tell me about your school, or tell me about who you are, or what you're about? But I think coming up with a list of questions, it can help maximize that experience because you go into it knowing specific things that you want answered, and then you can sort of tailor your visit to getting those questions asked. Myself, again, as a counselor, when I was a student, I was a tour guide, so I walked families around campus. I showed them, the specific buildings, and as a counselor now, I get asked a lot of these questions about application. I think as when you're going into your senior year, like, go ask that school about what makes a good application. What are you looking for in a student? That can help you tailor your application to the specific school that you're applying for. And I mean, any way that you can help increase your chances of getting admitted, I think is always a good practice. Scholarships vary greatly depending on the school. Some schools are going to be merit-based scholarships where they're looking at your grades or maybe your test scores or extracurricular activities. Other schools, scholarships are going to be more need-based. Other schools might not offer a lot of scholarships, but asking those questions about types of scholarships can, again, help you maximize the amount of extra money that you might get from a school that you applied and got admitted to. A lot of schools also offer departmental scholarships. So what that is it might be a scholarship based on a specific major, or maybe you're a first generation college student or a strong academic student. And that's, again, another way to find extra things that you might not have known about. Same with programs offered. If you have a major that you're really, really, really excited about, what better way to come prepared than have questions about a major that you want to know about? I think the biggest thing is just don't be shy. I know it can be intimidating meeting with someone one-on-one, meeting with a professor, but the more questions you ask, the more you can maximize that visit.
I was definitely one of those shy students on a campus tour. I never knew what to ask the tour guides, and it was usually one of my parents asking the questions that they knew I wanted to ask. But if I could go back to some of my campus tours, I would definitely ask the tour guides, what do you do on the weekend? What is it like to be a student here? How many students are in your classes? Do you like your professors? What can you do in the area? What are you studying? There really is no such thing as a stupid question when you're on a campus tour. And whether you're interacting with a tour guide or an admissions staff, a professor, really anyone from that school or university, they're there to answer your questions. So don't be shy, even though it can be a little nerve-wracking. And then after your college visits, take some time to reflect on it. Talk to whoever you visited with and see what they thought. Make a pros and cons list. This is something that I did at every single school I went to. Right after, I would go on my phone and write all of the things that I loved about that school and that I wanted in my college experience. And I also wrote a list of the things that, maybe I wasn't in love with. It's a good way to narrow your decision. Once you've been accepted to schools, you can look back at that initial pros and cons list that you made to help weigh your options. And then if you have any questions after you visit, for sure, reach out to your admissions counselor. That's what I did. I was super shy on my visits and I didn't know what kind of questions to ask. And it's always weeks or months after I actually went to that school that I thought of these questions. And I always reached out to the admissions counselors at these universities. And then my biggest piece of advice during your college visits is to visit your top schools again. I actually visited St. Thomas 3 times before I decided to come here. My first visit was in the summer, the second was in the fall, and the last one was in the spring. I wanted to see the university in all of the seasons. So if you're having trouble, deciding between 2 schools, either reach out to the admissions counselor again for them to answer those last minute questions, or go back to that campus to really try to visualize yourself in that community.
Then, I mean, really lastly, as far as our visit options at St. Thomas, because we talked about ways to maximize your visit and ways to help plan and prepare for a visit. Um, First of all, we encourage you to go visit schools. I don't think it's ever too early. I know a lot of students and families think you can't start visiting until your senior year, but it's never too early. I mean, even as a sophomore and a junior, just having the idea of college in the back of your mind can help one prepare you to continue to succeed academically in school, but also just start to prepare and think about what types of classes and what types of things interest you academically. And then by the time you're a senior, you have all that experience, you can really start to even more personalize the types of visits that you want to do. But as far as what we offer here at St. Thomas, we offer both in-person and virtual options. For in-person, we have, like I said, a campus visit where you can meet with someone like myself for an admissions counselor meeting. You can take a tour on campus, and for us, those are usually a little bit more personalized. Those are a little bit more one-on-one, where it'll be maybe you and maybe another family, but it's usually just you and your family and then a tour guide walking you around campus. You can get lunch on campus. We offer on campus information sessions. And then we have a couple other larger events coming up: summer preview days, summer engineering visits. Those are usually larger, like, group events where we'll give you general information and then followed by a campus tour. Those events, a lot of schools also offer larger events, and those are also a really fun way to experience more of that larger energy. So if something like a in-person visit doesn't sound like a one-on-one visit doesn't sound like your thing, a lot of schools offer those larger campus visits where there might be a couple hundred people. And that's a really great way just to experience energy and talk to other students that are really trying um, to visit a school and learn more information. And then there's a lot of virtual options. I know this last year with COVID was a little bit crazy, where a lot of schools had more virtual options. But I think one of the great things that came out of that is uh, there's a lot more virtual options out there for you. So if you're looking to go and visit a school out of state, more than ever, I mean, a lot of schools have virtual campus tours. For us, we offer virtual information sessions where if you don't want to come to campus, you can, sort of like what we're doing today, you can log on to Zoom, you can log on to a webinar format and listen to us talk to you about St. Thomas. You can meet with us one-on-one. So if you're out of state or you don't want to come to campus, we can connect over Zoom one-on-one. Same with the virtual summer preview days. And then we also offer a lot of other sort of personalized information sessions and webinars like the Tommies in 20 as well. So yeah, yeah, I know we have a couple questions that have come in throughout. We encourage you to just, if you have any other questions, just leave your name. We'll be following up with you after this webinar is over with our admissions counselors. We'll definitely have someone reach out to you as well. But if you do have any other additional questions that come up, you can definitely connect with us at admissions@stthomas.edu or give us a call. You can do either one of those options to connect with us and get your questions answered, or to set up an additional visit. Thanks so much for coming out today for the brief Tommies in 20 webinar that we had about maximizing your college visit. I know it's really nice out, really sunny, so I can't think of a better way than to spend your last 20 minutes with us doing this. But again, thank you so much for coming out. We're just going to leave this up for the next minute or two. So if you want to write down our email and phone number, you can do that to contact us. Thank you.